talking about? The plate is like this big.
Softball fans, welcome back. It's been a little bit. We missed a couple days with you because our fearless leader, Ches Severs, which let's bring her in right now. There she is, our fearless leader. And we got Allie here as well. We missed you because Ches was covering a live softball event. In case you missed it, we had live softball.
Softball's back.
I know. It was a great weekend. It did get a little hot. But I think everyone's spirits are pretty darn high considering the heat. And we saw some really great softball. I saw some great prospects in classes from 2021 to 2024. So I'm looking forward to updating the player rankings and seeing some new names on there. And it was a good weekend.
Yeah, you made the road trip up 35 to Tulsa, Oklahoma for the Tulsa Elite. Our bowling senior editor flew to his event. You decided to forego the flight. Was that like a conscious COVID decision, or did you want like a road trip, some me time?
Kind of both. And I loaded up the podcast, worked on some German.
Yeah, what's with the German? That's new.
I have like a number of different language books on my Audible, and I've been working on German, which is very difficult. But I've been kind of surprised. I will say,
you want German?
some?
I want a little German.
Yeah.
Give us something like softball related in German.
Ich bin Amerikanerin.
What does that mean?
That means I'm American.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for softball. Okay, all right.
I'm not that far yet. I know
right.
things like I understand.
Like where's the bathroom?
Where I'm from. No, I don't know.
You gotta
I can't remember. I don't know. They say where is the toilet. I know that they don't say bathroom.
Okay.
Which makes sense, right? Like where's the toilet?
Right.
Right.
You're not really taking a
bathroom.
You're not taking a bath in public.
Yeah.
I mean, some people do, but you're probably not.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're digressing into nonsense, mostly because I'm talking. But Tulsa Elite was awesome. You got to see some really great prospects. The community was excited.
Yeah, totally.
To see you.
I saw Texas Glory, the 16U play, who is just probably one of the best teams in the entire tournament. Very stacked. Lots of kids that are already committed. Very talented team. Also the Top Gun Academy with Allison Benning, who is an Oregon commit. She threw very well. There was a big matchup between them and Texas Glory. And Texas Glory ended up pulling out the win. And then also the Aces were very good. But you can tell that a lot of the players just reading the ball off the bat, it just wasn't the sharpest. It's like they've been in quarantine or something.
It's like they haven't touched a bat or a ball in months. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Can't imagine what caused that.
But I'm telling you, these kids are like hitting the ground running. I was like asking about the rest of their summer. They're like, oh, we're going to this tournament and that tournament and then this tournament. I was like, wow. You like filled out your summer already. Wow.
Are they staying?
I have not.
Well, you've been quite productive in quarantine. We could spend the whole time talking about what you've done. You're learning German for I mean, that's like making
it's more than what I'm doing.
But are they mostly staying in their regions, or are they traveling outside of their regions, the kids who are kind of hitting the ground running?
They're mostly staying like within their region. A lot of the teams are driving to different locations. Now, some of them do cross state lines, but most of them are driving. But there are occasional flights. like Allison Benning, who I talked about earlier, she's actually from Minnesota. So she flew there, but she was driving back with her family, which was like an 11-hour road trip. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
thanks.
Mm-hmm. And I think given just the heaviness of the news that we've seen in the last couple of weeks, it was definitely like a bright spot for these kids and family.
Yeah.
To get out and have some fun and to be reunited with their friends and teammates. So I think that was definitely like a morale booster, because you can tell, like talking with some of them, like they just had a really tough time and they try to stay connected as best they can. And to me, the part and the role that softball plays in their lives is such a critical one for them, as an outlet, as a way to connect, and to be challenged and not get stuck in their minds, just get out there, hit a ball, throw the ball,
I
catch the
remember
ball.
a couple of the episodes that we had with Robbie Wilson. He was talking about girls, and that's basically what they were saying. They were like, they're having a hard time because a big part of who they are has been stripped away from them right now and they have no control over it, right? So it's probably really refreshing, like you said, given the news that we've had the last couple of weeks plus quarantine. Like, it sounds like it was a win all around. So
I think so.
Awesome.
I wish there was bracket play, and I totally understand why there wasn't, because the way that the games were structured was in a way that teams would be able to exit the park, and there was a space and time where there was a new team that would enter the park, so they were never overlapping. So in order to keep the social distancing within the parameters of like the city and state, there was these time gaps where people could move in and out of the park without there being too many people.
Oh, that's smart. That's good to see.
Yeah, that's gonna be my next question: is what kind of safety measures they're putting in, there at Tulsa Elite. But yeah, that's awesome how they did that.
I mean, it's a totally fair question, and the way that they did it was, they would have teams play back to back, like a double header, but the fields would be right next to each other. So like you can imagine the 4 teams, they play one game, and then one team, like they switch fields. So they play the other team. So now they're not walking all over the park. They just stay within that kind of like little bubble of teams. And then when those games were finished, they'd call it like a session. Those teams could leave, and then there was, I think, an hour or so until the next game would be played versus the 30 minutes, which we typically see. And then they were able to do field maintenance like in between those sessions. And then there wasn't this influx of players and families entering and leaving the park. So it was good. It was run smooth. I was impressed.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Let's switch gears to college.
Okay.
Some not so awesome news coming out of Ohio. Wright State has dropped their softball program. It's the first D1 softball program to get dropped as a result of COVID. What are your thoughts, Chaz?
I feel for those players, and to my knowledge, it wasn't something that they saw coming, and it is so sad. And just to back up, when I took my first official job as a Division I coach, Linda Garza hired me, and she was actually the head coach at Wright State prior to UC Riverside, and she was part of helping turn that program around. And they made some tournament appearances, and it's sad, but also we know this. We've already been talking about it. It doesn't necessarily come as a shock when you see the wave of budget cuts and salaries being reduced and operational fees being reduced. And we know that the cost of running a softball program or any sport athletic program in a university is just so expensive. And it unfortunately comes at a time when it might be difficult for those players to find a place to transfer to immediately. Right now, the transfer portal kind of ballooned out, and then now we have this logjam of 2020 recruits going in to certain situations where there's bloated rosters. So it's going to be a difficult situation, and those players are going to have to reach out to all the coaches that they have connections to be able to figure out like what's going to be their next move in terms of transferring. Do they go to a junior college to continue to play and then be able to wait for a spot to open up because there's just more spots available? What do you guys think?
I played D2 college, but one of my teammates transferred to Wright State. I think after our sophomore year, so it's a huge bummer to know somebody like one of the coaches. It's heartbreaking, really, honestly, to see any program go down, but then to have like a connection to it is also, it's a bummer. It's a giant bummer. So I fear that we may see more.
Yeah.
That's my fear. I don't know what you guys what your takes are. I don't know if you've heard anything.
I have some thoughts. You ready for them?
We're always ready for your thoughts, Chaz. Always ready for your thoughts.
I think with the uncertainty of campuses being able to reopen in person poses another question to the universities, which is, can we open up the university to more students virtually? And what kind of effect is that going to have on mid-major programs? So look, the cost of college is already astronomical. Like I can't think of another business that has jacked up their prices more and hasn't changed their product. I don't think it exists. I think it only exists in the world of college, unfortunately. And it's all these colleges have created this kind of luxury brand. And then they're figuring out when they go and study virtually that like this program is BS. Like I could basically get the same level of education at any of the other divisions. Like there's not a huge comparison unless you're talking about like Ivy League and MIT and like Stanford. Right. That poses a different question. But what I'm saying is, are the universities going to open up more space in those classrooms for virtual students, which is going to drive down the cost of tuition, but they're going to be able to raise the number of students. And then does that pull from those smaller universities that would typically take those students? So I think, it's going to be, they're going to have to try to figure out how they're going to balance these numbers, because I know what they're already seeing is less students are going to want to sign up if they're going to keep their prices the same and they're not even getting the in-person, they're not even getting to go to class in person. Like, what's the point?
Right.
I think there's a bigger question with universities. Go ahead, Allie.
Yeah, my thoughts on that too is also like, I know, so my cousin is here at home with me, and so she goes to Texas A&M, and Texas A&M actually just released like their guidelines on how they're going to reopen, and they're actually putting in the whole, you have to wear a mask while you're in class. But another thing that they're doing is they're reducing the sizes of the classes. So, obviously, like, you're not getting that in-person time, and then not only that, but thinking about college and like, your career and like, what you're signing up for, you may not be able to get in the classes that you want to get into. Like, that's another thing to think about. There's limited space within these classes now. So you may not be able to pursue the career that you're intending to pursue, which I think is like another thought too.
But if they open it up virtually, then they open up to more customers.
Right.
And I think that could potentially happen. That is a model that we could see some of these universities take to be able to kind of recoup what they've lost. I just think the market's going to change for college in terms of how it's going to cost. They realize that, this is another piece. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent here on colleges.
Go Ches.
I think we're going to see some of these big universities start to partner with the Googles, the Apple of the world to basically create a more robust virtual student technology. Because that, I think what we've learned from this is that these universities are not as equipped as they need to be in terms of the whole technology aspect of where the future of education is going. So that's another thing. That's like a side conversation. But I do know that like Google and Apple are beginning to get into the college space because, like I said, the markup on college is like astronomical. And why wouldn't they take their business there and use them for all the browsers and then they can collect all the information on all of the students that are going to school there, and they know more about us, they know more about our buying behavior, and I digress.
And all of that affects, believe it or not, like what athletic programs are kept, because that's income for the that's income for the school. So like it's not just the impact on athletic budgets and the salaries that you mentioned earlier. It's all these other factors that universities as a business, like we're talking about them as a business, have to consider to stay in the black and not go in the red. So all like everything that you just mentioned impacts athletics as much as a direct cut to the softball operations program, right? Like it all is this domino effect. And man, chancellors and presidents and ADs have so much to figure out. And I don't envy them, but it's a shame to see Wright State lose their program. And I fear, because of the things that you just mentioned and that you walked through, we may see some more programs go down. Hopefully not, but I think it's a possibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all. But let's move on.
We've exhausted that. We've exhausted that discussion.
Yeah. Let's move on. So more on coaching changes. All the positions are filled at Ole Miss. Jamie Traxel has hired her assistant, Katie Rekovic, from Minnesota, who also happened to coach at Ole Miss, but also hired a new assistant coach who was a volunteer coach at LSU. Man, I will say,
what do you think of that staff? Do you like that staff?
Yeah, I think it's a good staff. I like. Let me pull up his name. Their latest hire is actually a men's fast pitch player. His name is Riker Chasen. He was a volunteer at LSU, spoken very highly from his previous employers. And like, I think when you can add somebody who can throw some nasty BP and for a long time, that is a plus. It's definitely a plus. So I think those are strong hires. Like what they're going to do in recruiting will be interesting. And I'm really curious to see how she turns this program around. Mm-hmm. I was pleasantly surprised by the turnaround from Minnesota. Yes, they were a successful program,
right,
but she took over the program after they lost Jessica Allister, who went on to coach at Stanford. Sarah Gronewagen graduates and enters the draft. So that team was dealing with a lot of heavy emotional and mental baggage from the previous year. And then take Kendall Lindemann transferring a year after that. So those are a lot of different elements a team is dealing with, and she was able to create cohesion in a group that was kind of broken into a lot of pieces. And I think she walks into a situation at Ole Miss where it's almost similar, right? This program that was, quite honestly, Mike Smith had turned around that program. Like, you can't argue what the man did. He led them to their first super regional. Like, they blew us away by finishing at the top of the SEC. And then right before season, he resigns after a long, exhausted investigation and kind of a smear campaign on him right before he left Ole Miss. And then we saw some players leave Ole Miss. Like, they were 13-12 with like the same pitchers returning from the previous year. So I think she walks into a situation again where the team is in pieces, and she's going to have to put them all back together in a time when we're all separate from each other.
I think she's the right person for the job, though. If you look at what she did with Minnesota, like you mentioned, they were kind of already a team on the rise, but she kind of put the final touches on that and took them to the World Series. And before she was at Minnesota, she had a year at Iowa State where they had a really successful year relative to their other years. So I think she's a coach that has the capacity to kind of take what she has, work with that, and maximize it, honestly. So I'm really excited to see what Ole Miss does. But I think, just like any new coach heading into a team right now, COVID is presenting unprecedented challenges. But I think I think that's a good staff. I think it's a strong staff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. And there's still a number of other positions that are still available. For instance, Minnesota will have to make one more assistant hire. That could be somebody that Carly Wynn is connected to, who was just hired as the associate head coach, coming over from ASU. I would think they have to definitely hire somebody who's going to hit recruiting hard. That's and handle the infield. Mm-hmm. That's my thought on their next hire. And then Cal with Chelsea Spencer, she'll have to hire an offensive coach and a pitching coach. So I imagine she takes her time and finds the right fit for that program. And then we saw Tennessee hire Megan Rhodes as their new pitching coach. I met Megan at Florida State camp. Can't say that was that odd, but she was very nice. I didn't get to talk too much with her about pitching. From the little that I saw of her, I can tell she is very her passion and interest for absorbing knowledge and then translating that knowledge into the bullpen is something I know that she takes pride in. So I think it's a good fit for them, and it's just going to bring a new energy in the bullpen that I think the Volunteers need. And speaking of new energy, they also added transfer from Arizona, Ivy Davis. So we're seeing some new parts over in Knoxville. And I think that should get them excited.
I think the opening that I'm most curious to see that gets filled is that UT position that's still open.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's
It's
the one
funny.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see it. I want to see it. I don't know. Do you have any new guesses, Ches, or are you sticking with your other ones from our show a couple weeks ago?
I think they're going to hire a female coach. I don't think it'll be somebody young. I think it'll be somebody who's experienced. I mean, I still had people over the weekend like saying cat. I'm like, come off your cat talk.
Come off your cat.
She's going to the Olympics.
Yeah.
This team has a chance to win a national championship. They need somebody with 2 feet in, like ready to move to Austin, wear all burnt orange, and eat barbecue. Like, let's go.
And you made a really important point last time we talked about this. Like, they don't need a pitching coach, right? Like, that's not what they need. Mm-mm. They need infielding and recruiting, like somebody to handle infield and recruiting. And she would obviously be a pitching coach hire, right? Like, So
she did hit once.
do you want to tell the story for all the fans?
Yeah, tell us the story.
Sure. She was a senior, and she had made a bet with Coach Clark, or a pact. I think it was like more like a pact with Coach, that she would get one at bat her senior year. And I can't remember who we were playing, but Coach Clark told Kat, like, you're up. And she like puts on a helmet and like starts swinging. And we're just like, all of us are getting hyped, in the dugout. We're like, let's go, Kat. Just like all arms.
Yeah.
And she gets up and she strokes a ball off the left field fence.
No shit.
She had the biggest smile on her face, and we were just like going crazy in the dugout, like so hyped for her.
Stand up double.
Like
stand up double.
And then Kat would on occasion like pick up the bat and just start swinging just for the hell of it. I think she was trying to show Coach like she wasn't messing around. She did it. She made us look stupid because we couldn't hit.
That is amazing. I think we have to be done.
This is how you do it, guys.
I think we have to be done with that. Like, I don't think there's any. I mean, we just relived Kat's stand-up double. I mean, she bats 1,000, right, for her college career. Is that how that goes?
Yeah, I know.
Damn.
Batted 1,000, threw over 1,000 strikeouts. Call it a day.
She's on another level.
She's all around player. I missed the games that happened on June 8th. They played a bunch of they called it like Cat Day. I'm just in the background. They played several games. I saw it like on social. Good times.
I mean, how do we top that? What do we have left?
I don't think so. I mean, transfers we can go over real quick. Jana Johns to Oklahoma.
That's a big one.
Wow, super stacked.
Patty's gonna get her some. Like she's gonna get herself a team.
Patty, it is going to be a dogfight to get into that lineup. I'll tell you that. And that freshman class coming in, they're competitors. I don't know how you keep Jada Coleman out of the lineup. She has so many tools. I would predict that she'll be in the outfield. And then you have Tiari Jennings, which I think she'll probably battle for either a third base, second base spot. No one's going to beat Grace Lyons out at shortstop.
Yep.
And then you still have Kinsey Hansen that's in the lineup, and then Grace Green. It's like
she's
disgusting the amount of hitters.
She's almost presented with the challenge of keeping all of her studs happy so they don't transfer, right? Like,
100%.
She has so much talent, and like she has to keep all of them happy so she can retain them, right? Like that's almost the problem that she has.
Yeah, I think, She still has Taylon Snow, who I would assume takes second base.
Yeah.
And third base, look, you're going to have Jana Johns, Zeta Pooney, Aaliyah Flores, so many people battling for that spot. And look, second base isn't completely locked down either. And depending on Taylon Snow's health, it could open up another position. But wow, that lineup, that infield is stacked. Is just going to be ridiculous. And then, we talked to Mike Kendrea weeks ago about the transfers that left, and Jenna Keene ended up at Louisiana Lafayette, outfielder. I think it's a good pickup for them. Mm-hmm. Adds more speed and depth to the outfield. Marissa Schuld, another transfer from U of A, just goes down the street to Arizona State. Pitcher utility. I think she'll help them a ton. And then we have Ivy Davis, who we talked about earlier, going to Tennessee. Yeah, so a lot of movement there.
I think with that core of seniors coming back to U of A, these people are like kind of saw the writing on the wall. They're like, right, like Kendra is going to go all in with those seniors that are coming back. So yeah, a lot of talent on the move.
Hard to deny them.
Yeah, right. Like it's just another function of like the changes that are happening with teams in COVID. Like you got a stacked senior team like that. Some underclassmen are like, I got to go somewhere else for some opportunity. So a lot of talent in the talent pool shifting around.
Yeah, and just like the logjam of players like presents a problem for those coaches and those recruits. And I've been talking about it for weeks. This is why I think junior college is going to become so important. Would you rather ride the bench, eat up like a year of eligibility there, or play and save money, live closer to home, and then end up at like the place that you want and then end up playing? I could just tell you right now, when I was coaching, there's a big difference between junior college players and incoming freshmen. And any college coach will tell you that. So it's just another option. It's nothing to look down upon. I think it's just very smart, especially if it fits kind of what the things that you need. And those are some of the questions that you have to ask yourself.
What's the difference that you see as a coach between a freshman and a Juco player?
Maturity, they're just poise. When they're on the field, because they have more college game experience. And junior college players, they're good. Like, you should go watch some games. They're good. If you watch the Juco Kickoff Classic, you're like, damn, those kids can play. And it's no surprise that we see them go to top D1 schools, top D2 schools, and top D3 schools, because they could all play. So and let me even back up even further. Crystal Bustos was a junior college player. Vicky Galindo was a Juco player. They didn't land at like a 4-year university, and they ended up on the Olympic team. So it's nothing to like turn your nose up at. Like, there are some really great players. And I'll even just for example, more recent players, Molly Jacobson, who is now at Texas, was playing Juco, and that's how she got discovered by Ole Miss. Crystal Goodman at Alabama was a Juco player at Chipola. Like, the opportunities there's a ton of them. And then the other piece that I like about a Juco player is like, they just take care of what they need to take care of. Like, I never had to worry about those kids academically. They already knew the system. They'd already been through the college system, so they knew what to do, versus like trying to kind of babysit. Not interested in that.
No, nobody wants to do that.
Mm.
All right, Ches. What's coming up?
All right. We have got the Top Club National, which we're very excited about. It's our first time doing it. That'll take place in Oklahoma. We also have the Triple Crown 4th of July tournament. We have the PGF Southeastern Regional Championship. PGF is still going on as far as we know. And I just wanted to do a quick plug for our sponsor for today. You guys ready?
Ready. Born ready.
All right. This show is brought to you by RX Sports, the official CBD partner of Flow Sports, the all-natural, highly concentrated CBD product perfect for all your training recovery needs. Visit rxsportsinc.com/Flow Sports for an automatic 20% discount off your entire order. Defy your pain with RX Sports.
I don't think that we have anything else to say. I think that's it. Ches,
That's the deal.
Allie, great to
Love
see your
a good
faces.
discount.